Hello and welcome to chapter 3 of Rambling Lesbians. You are here with me, Alison Root, and
Crystal Stefano Wren.
Wow, I haven't got a middle name to give.
That's my double last name. It's Stefano Wren.
Stefano, that's
I have
Italian.
a middle name. It's Lee. She is Italian and German, born in France.
Wow. That's a whole spread of them up there.
Right, and she's a Scorpio. She's pretty much dangerous.
Okay, what's your middle name?
Lee.
Yes, of course it is, Crystal Lee Wren. I knew that. Right, anyway, we're on to chapter 3, and we have got Claire Highton-Stevenson as our author interview. Apart from that, we have pretty much no idea what we're going to talk about this chapter. But
we have delved into discussions probably about 4 times between in the last week on what our topics would be. We several times said, yeah, that's what it's going to be, and that's what we're going to do, and nobody wrote that down, and now here we are, rambling without guidelines.
But do you know what? Fuck it. That's what it's about. That's what you said to me, isn't it, Crystal? We came up with this idea that we were going to sit here, ramble on about bullshit, and be happy about it.
Yeah, and I am happy about it.
So am I. I'm happy because I finally feel pretty good in my head this week. It's like the black clouds have cleared and I feel like the happy Ally that I usually am. So yay.
Yay. I am glad to see that and hear it. And I'm still on the road to coming up out of the fog. I was able to work a little bit yesterday. And then I went swimming with my son and his wife. And then I disassociated for the next 6 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, 6 hours is better than 24, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, which pretty much is how it's been for about 2 months.
Yeah.
When I'm not, like, doing my chores and dragging my wife around.
Okay.
Speaking of my wife, she wants to ride a bike. The answer is no.
Basically, Kat would just break her entire body.
Yeah. Yep.
Not even a joke. She really would.
She would.
Now you've just got to try and stop her from doing it.
I know.
I still say just buy her one of those massive the inflatable sumo costumes, stick her in it and let her go.
Right. They actually make this really cool Japanese product that looks like a backpack. And as someone's following it, like, wraps around them.
That was on a James Bond film.
Was it?
It absolutely was. One with Pierce Brosnan. He falls down a mountain in an avalanche and it's like it goes poof and it goes right. Yeah, it like bubbles him.
But I would need like 6 a day. You would.
Oh, yeah. Can you only use them once?
I don't know.
I bet that'd be really expensive for you if that was the case. Fucking hell.
My wife's a menace, but I do love her.
We do love Kat. She's hilarious. The other good news, listeners, is that this is the first time I've managed to get both microphones working at the same time. Usually I set up the microphones the night before, and by the time Crystal gets round here, nothing fucking works.
Right.
So we end up having to just record off of one microphone. And
then we get that little weird echoey thing.
Yeah, and that just pisses me off. But for whatever miracle has happened today, we finally got it working, so... Woohoo. Today, for a Monday, I think we're doing really fucking good.
Is that what day it is?
It is Monday, isn't it? Yeah, it's Monday. Yeah, let's say it's Monday.
Oof.
So later on, we will give you Claire's author interview, and it was a lot of fun to record. Lovely, lovely lady. We had a bit of a chat. Well, in the interview, you'll hear that we have a bit of a chat about covers, about book covers. So I thought we'd have a bit more of a ramble on about that, because there are a lot of people who have a lot of opinions on book covers.
Right.
The other day, somebody posted about saying, does anybody agree with me how much I dislike cartoonish book covers? And then I think that made a lot of authors go, oh, because
that's the current trend.
Because that's the current trend. But hey, it goes with the book, surely.
Right, and I cannot imagine the pressure that cover artists are under to hit the mark for the market and the niche and the topic of the book.
Yeah, he's got to hit everything.
Yeah. it's impossible.
And it's even harder for them if they're like me. I go to mine and say I haven't got a clue what I want. Just sort it out for me, please.
I think that they get a lot of that anyway.
Yeah.
So that just puts them a lot of pressure to know the trends and be able to hit the market.
So yeah, at the moment there is this cartoonish trend, but to be honest with you, for me, where romance is concerned, I think a lot of it does fit. So it does fit some books with regards to covers. Some people don't like human faces on them. Some do like human faces. Some don't like cartoons. Some do like cartoons. I just don't even know how you'd even hit everything.
I don't either. And it's frustrating to me because I feel that if it's going to be a lesbian romance with a lot of spice, and that's the main plot, it's easier for me to tell that that's what that is if there is a non-cartoonish sexy woman on the cover.
But then coming from a point of view where my books contain spice, it's not the main ingredient, but it definitely has spice in it. I've got two options. I could go with that, so I could try and hook readers in with the spice aspect. But then on the other side, then I feel like I'm missing out on the fact that I hope my books are a little bit deeper than just the spice part of it.
Right.
So,
but we've also just talked about, we look at a cover, we pick it up, we think it's going to be spicy, and you get through it and it's not.
And that sucks.
Yeah. That's when I don't get my proper amounts of dopamine.
Yeah, I went back and redid all my first 3 book covers, because when I started out last year, I had no money. I literally started this out on my own. You know, my wife has got a good income, but that wasn't for her to start putting money into my career. I wanted to do that by myself. So when I started, all my book covers I did myself, because I couldn't afford a designer. Simple as that. So my 3 books came out. They were very cartoonish. I went to visit my parents and they had a friend round. He was like, oh, it's like looking at a child's book. And I was like, I want to die inside a little bit. Okay, thanks for that. But you know what? I appreciated his honesty, because it meant that I went back and thought, yeah, all right, I need to change this. So when I did start to get royalties in, everything went back into my books. So all 3 got redesigned, and I was really happy with them. And now the books that I write this year go straight to a professional designer straight away.
Right.
But I fully understand the difficulties of authors coming into this and not being able to just throw hundreds of dollars per book.
Well, and it makes it worse if you're crossing genres.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. How can, what do you do with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would not want that job for anything.
No, neither would I. But now you just talk about cross genres. Can you tell the readers what you told me earlier about your deep dive on Google to do with a Megaverse sex toy?
Okay, so I last week read the newest book in Lily X in her female Omegaverse series, which I love. And some people cannot do Omegaverse with lesbians because of the GIP. And that is the girl penis, because alphas have one. They have the girl parts, but then they also have that part. And Allison's brain is spinning.
It is. It's going to explode. Wow.
And then there's a huge amount of people that like the monster romances, and that becomes tentacles and things like that. So for some reason, I will randomly put in a search term that shouldn't be there. Things like alien penis, alien dildo. And that brought me to some websites that were not only an alien subject, but Omegaverse. So for those that are into Omegaverse, you can actually buy a knot to go on your strap, or if you're an actual guy and you have an actual penis, you can put that on your penis. And then they have whole sleeves that go on the penis that can make it look like any sort of alien penis or a tentacle or anything like that.
I think that blows my mind a little bit, to be honest with you. It
Right?
really does.
Yeah.
I'm just...
Yeah.
I think I'd laugh.
I cannot imagine sitting around trying to get that setup working, because they also had the egg one. They had one.
Oh my god, this sounds horrendous. Oh.
It's a sleeve with a hole in it.
Oh shit.
And it comes with like these little eggs.
No.
So it's where the eggs are deposited inside the female. So you can like take the eggs and push it up through the prosthetic into the area. And
is it for ass and for vagina?
I didn't dig that far.
What? Oh, you let me down, Crystal. I want to know everything now.
I mean, you can go either way, I guess. Yeah, like, but then I think the reason I don't look for things that are put anally, that I'm not against anal in any way, but I do have an OCD fear of having something lost in my butthole that I can't retrieve. And
yeah, oh yeah,
look at your face. Stop it. And I just can't go there, even if it has like a long string and a handle. Like, no, it's a fear I have.
So you wouldn't even go for anal beads?
No, it's an irrational fear, just like my fear of the post office.
That is not the same. I can assure you, anal beads and the post office are not the same thing.
It is, because I don't know what's going on back there.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I'm still really stuck on this whole egg depository thing. I don't understand. I don't know why anybody would want to feel like they've got an alien egg being deposited inside.
To be fair, as being pregnant, that's
out.
Exactly what I felt like.
Ew.
I felt like Sigourney Weaver in Alien. Like the alien was going to burst from me and like snap at me.
Exactly why I don't want children.
Yeah, I did not appreciate being pregnant. I did not appreciate giving birth. I love my children. I'm glad they're here. I love them as adults. But that whole process was just
horrendous.
Ick.
Yeah, total ick.
My boobs leaked for months.
Oh, Jesus. See, everything about childbirth, child rearing, or whatever.
This is where I'm going to lose
awful.
people, because I'm going to say, once the baby comes out of you, you think you're done. But no, there's a whole nother part that you have to get out. The placenta.
Oh, yeah, after birth.
Yeah.
It's all just super gross. I sit there, me and Ange sit there watching TV, and if any character is pregnant or about to give birth, we're both sat there like somebody's just kicked us in the crotch or something, like, oh my god, this is so gross.
And to be fair, it truly is. And I've seen somebody have birth, and in that moment, the emotions are very high, and it's like, this is amazing, and then you sit back and go, the fuck just happened? Why?
Oh,
Ew.
I'd be such a terrible birth partner. I'd literally sit there with this face going, oh.
Right, and I told the father, I'm like, do not come down here. It will ruin you. Just stay up by the head. And he was great. He's like, no, I'm not coming down there. Like, and to be fair, he's an asshole and he's not that great. But so maybe I should have ruined him.
You should have ruined it for him.
Just for fun.
Yeah, funsies. I once saw an echography of my wife's ovaries when she was going to get it checked, and that freaked me out. I was like, I never want to see anything like that ever again.
That's the same shape as those eggs that are deposited.
Oh, no. Everything about that makes me cringe. Everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
thanks
Crystal
for that
Crystal went
tangent.
on a deep dive of alien sex toys.
Yeah. And then, of course, my brain went, you should start a website and sell those. And I went, no, brain.
No.
Not going there. I like, the one sex toy that I have is plenty enough. Like, that was an accident that happened that I'm quite pleasant about. But beyond that, no, I couldn't. No.
So, yeah, that's what Crystal's done lately.
Yeah. That was just last night.
You live such an awesome life, Crystal, in your head and what the shit you do. I love it. What did I do last night? Nothing. I read.
I did that too.
I pretty much, to be honest with you, yesterday, that's all I did all day was I read. It was such a Sunday where you literally did nothing all day. Ange brought me breakfast in bed. She made me lunch. I was lady leisure yesterday. It was really great.
I cannot tell people enough that it's really important for women to have a wife.
Yeah.
I don't care what you label yourself or what land you're in, get yourself a wife.
They are awesome. Well,
Yeah.
mine is. Mine's truly awesome.
Yeah. Don't get the crazy kind.
No.
Well, I can't believe I said that. Never mind.
Who have you been married to for 17 years?
Let's rewind.
I was reading and not looking at Alien
Junk.
6, but now it's going to be in my mind now, and I'm going to have to look at this egg thing just so I can see it, visualise it, and then banish it forever from my mind. Because right now my imagination is going wild and it's freaking me out.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring it up right now. We'll do it later.
Yeah.
Because I think that would just take us further into the depths. When my stepson was ages 18, 19, and 20, I don't know how it happened, but he had access to all of the up-and-coming legend videos, like Two Girls, One Cup.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh.
So he would come through the door and just start showing me these things. And there was one called Mr. Hand, which is an actual real video with a man and a horse. And I believe that man died. And then there's a man and a pickle jar. And every time I think of that, all I can hear is crackling glass, because that didn't go well. And he didn't bleed out, as you would assume, but it was close.
Wow.
Yeah. So
this episode's taking a weird turn. We've had alien sex toys and now men sticking their knobs in things by the sounds of it.
Well, to be fair, he is a gay man, and, I don't know where he came up with that stuff, but I was truly educated on a lot of videos during that time frame.
Okay.
It got to a point where he would be like, look at this. I'm like, no.
No, just don't show me anymore.
Away from me. So, yeah.
Okay.
That was...
Right. Okay. Moving away from
lived
that.
in a normal house.
No. I've spent the last few days going over the story the book that's going to be out in March, going over, make sure there's no mistakes in it, because I've decided I'm going to start selling signed paperbacks directly.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and I even got myself, I'll show you, it's a little stamp to author. So when somebody buys a book from me and it's signed, it will have a stamp for authenticity. So nobody can sell them somebody with a bloody signature and say, oh, this is from whatever.
That's neat. So it's like a raised...
I'll show you. It's a stamp that's has my author logo on it.
Yeah.
That I will then sign over. So
Okay.
It can't be replicated in that way, kind of thing.
Huh.
We probably can, but it's just, unless you know what the stamp is.
Okay.
You're not going to. But anyway.
That's pretty self-important there, Alison.
Well, why the fuck not?
Woo!
Why the fuck not? If I don't ring my own bell, nobody else is going to, is it? So...
Well, I hope your wife does.
Well, we're not going to get into that. So anyway...
I love that I pushed your button and you pushed right back. Thank you. That's exactly what I was going for.
So, so me and my self-important stamp are going to start selling paperbacks directly. I'll start with Broken Parts Included and Callie Compton. So I'm quite looking forward to that. I'm hoping that that goes well, because I want to start branching out a little bit, I think. I'm going to start taking some of my books wide as well, get them off KU. So I've been doing that over the last few days, preparing. That's what I've been doing.
That's a lot of work and preparation.
And within that preparing, then I've been freaking out that I've not been writing my next book. Well, I have been writing it, but not as frequently as I should be.
Uh-huh.
But then I've had to sit myself down, have a little word with myself and tell myself to stop being such a twat about it, because I haven't actually got a schedule of anything. So I'm panicking for absolutely zero reason.
I understand that. I spend a lot of time in anxiety paralysis when it's just not necessary.
It's true. I don't know if that's just being part of being self-employed, isn't it? You kind of maybe putting schedules on yourself, putting stress on yourself, getting things done, while you've also got other parts of your life that are still going on. I don't know if that's just part of self-employment.
I think it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we're relying on ourselves. And I was talking to somebody about how I view dealing with marketing and the social aspect of not having to really focus myself on it as much as I consider that I'm planting seeds. And I don't know how they're going to bloom or when they're going to bloom, but if I don't plant them, then I'm not getting anything back. I'm more strategic about where I plant them to conserve energy, but I know that I have to keep planting them. Yeah. And that can come in several different forms. It's not always social media marketing, or it can really just even be a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And I can consider that as part of what I'm doing to move forward.
Yeah, I think what I've learned, what I'm still learning is scheduling myself properly with stuff, because I'm sure readers will understand that for an author, for somebody who is self-employed, that it's not just a case of you do one thing and then everything's done. It's not that at all. You know, I write the book and then I have everything else that goes on top of that.
Right.
And not only then, but that particular book, you then have to make sure all your other books or all your other work is still being pushed out into the ether of the world to try and get some recognition. So it just never stops.
No.
And it can be it's so easy to get lost in.
Well, and then if you get a negative feedback.
Yeah.
Then that can just crash your whole system emotionally.
Absolutely. We're sensitive little creatures.
Not me. I'm soulless.
No, you're not. Shut up. Soulless. What's a crock of shit? Soulless.
As I sit down and cry at the next book I read. That was so beautiful.
I love a good cry when I'm reading, especially. Do you know, yesterday, so as I said, we were sat down, it was a complete day of doing nothing, reading. Andrew's watching telly. Okay, so Sundays is usually our day where I like to end the weekend on something light, because, you know, it's Sunday. Monday's come in, we've got to start work again.
Yeah.
So we were watching this series called One Day that got rave reviews or whatever. Lovely, watching it. Well, it ended in not a way either of us thought, and I was like, and I just turned to Ange, completely devastated. We both sat there with tears down our face. I was like, do you just want to stick something on about the Holocaust next to really make our fucking days, because that was atrocious. Like, ruined the Sunday morning completely. So I do like to cry, but it has to be at the right time, because that nearly ruined the weekend.
Yeah.
Anyway.
My wife is very accustomed to me just sitting there silent crying.
Why'd you silent cry? Is that just...
Well, I'm not going to blubber.
Why? I love a good blubber sometimes.
She'll shush me. She's watching television. Whatever.
It's harsh, man.
Have you not... I need you over more so that you can see that she, like, will, like, make noises like the dog whisperer to control me. She'll, like, at me. And I'm just like, I'm not your dog. And then I'll be like, what do you need? And so then, yeah, I am. But it's hilarious. It's hilarious. She'll just be like... And part of that's being French, because they're very, like, sound effecty.
They are really sound effecty.
Yeah. And then that's part of it, that she's watched too much Dog Whisperer. And then you add in the fact that I'm totally a golden retriever, and I'm just like, I'll do anything. So, yeah, it's quite the combo.
Oh my God, I would be so mad if Ange did that to me. It would not go well.
No. And it shouldn't. But then I'm just like,
but
whatever.
It does.
Whatever. Like, yeah. It's all that top energy she's got going on.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can always blubber cry around here if you need to have a release.
I mean, like, if I need to cry, like, she'll ignore it and walk into another room and shut the door. Oh, is that you having deep emotion? Bye. Click. I like this is... She's like, ew. I'm gonna go watch my true crime. And like, okay.
God. Ange couldn't ignore me because I cry a lot. I do. I it doesn't take much. When I'm angry, I cry through anger. I cry through everything, basically. That's what happens. And actually, when I lived in the UK and I worked in a college, my colleagues, I was known as the crier. They were like, out of everybody who cries, it was like, I put my hand up like me, and they knew it. Like that. I would cry anything.
Yeah. When a tense situation comes up, she will start with the. Yeah. And it's just like, no, just tell us, and she'll just keep going.
Well, I read something. I don't know if it's true, but I'll repeat it anyway.
Okay.
That apparently the reason we cry not just through sadness, but it can be through anger, it can be when we laugh, is because your brain can literally hold no more of that emotion.
Right.
And apparently tests were done on tears through laughter, through sadness, and there was a distinct difference between the chemicals in the tears. So they knew when somebody was crying with laughter and happiness because the chemical compound of the tear was that. And what they're saying is that you get so filled up with this particular emotion, you literally cannot hold it anymore. So that's what comes out in your tears. And I thought that was really lovely.
That is lovely.
So so I suppose if you're just a super passionate person and you get filled up so much with emotion, that's why you cry more.
Well, see, I wasn't much of a crier until I got sick.
Yeah.
And then I got that, it's a disorder, and I think it's called SAD or something. Yeah. And I thought that was a bullshit name and a bullshit disease. I'm like, why is this even a commercial? What is happening?
Yeah.
And then I found that, I had that, and I would laugh and cry inappropriately. And then since then, I'm able to laugh and cry mostly appropriately. And then, like, I did laugh really hard when I should have been crying at my grandfather's funeral once. But I did poke myself in the eye to make it look like I was crying. So, yeah. Anyway, but since then, so the last 14, 15 years, I've been a lot more openly emotional.
I can't remember a time when I wasn't. I think that's just my makeup. I cry at everything. It's just how I am. I think it shocked the shit out of Angie when she first came with me because I think
the stoic French.
Yeah, I just broke down every 5 minutes for whatever reason. Okay. But, you know,
you're so beautiful. I love you so much. Well, I love you too. Please stop that. Which is pretty much how Catherine handles it. It's like she's like, no.
See, I think Angie's become more emotional now. I think that after being
Catherine
with me,
has gotten better. I did.
It doesn't sound like
it's very early in our relationship. I went, I need this from you. I need you to turn to me and say it's going to be okay. And she looked at me and went, no, I can't. And I had to realize that she could only give me what she had.
Yeah.
And what she mostly gave me in many ways was more than enough. And I was just going to have to figure that section out my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when listeners, comment in the group if you are a crier or not. And if you're not, how do you deal with people crying? Because some people who don't do emotion well really can't deal with somebody sitting there
I
crying.
could not do crying after sex. Could not.
Have you ever cried after sex?
Not that I can remember. And absolutely Catherine would not. And I think if that happened, we would both get out of the bed and go to separate rooms and shut the door.
Okay.
That's how that would have been dealt with. Or it would have just been ignored. Like, no.
So there's another question, listeners. What would you do if your partner started crying after sex? Would you be able to comfort them, or would you pull a crystal, get up and leave the room? I, once again, will overshare. I have cried after sex.
I'm so shocked by that.
I have, because it was very emotional, very lovely, and it was just overwhelmingly good, so I cried.
And I think that that's lovely for you, and I love that you have a partner that could stay with that, in that emotion, and enjoy that with you. And that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope I'm never single, because people are going to be like, oh, no, nope. Crystal's single. Can you imagine me in another relationship where I cried and somebody like comforted me and I'd be like, no!
I'm just ready like ejecting them from you. Like, what are you doing?
Go to the other room!
Don't touch me!
Why are you crying? Because I cry.
Why are you talking to me about it?
Please don't cover me.
I kind of feel like you're really quite emotionally neglected.
Possibly.
Crystal. So far, you've told me in this episode that your wife shushes you like you're a dog, will leave you in a room if you cry, and basically just makes you leave her alone if you have emotion.
Yeah, but she does do the cooking, cleaning, and the laundry. And she finds those as acts of service to me. So, yeah, even though I'm not like, could you stop doing the cooking, cleaning, and laundry and let me help? She gets really upset if I say that because she wants to be able to give that to me. Like, that's how she gives to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. And join me next time for my next delusion.
We should change this from Rambling Lesbians to Ali and Crystal's therapy sessions,
Right.
I think.
There's going to be a street team.
Listeners, we want you to comment any of your therapy issues you'd like us to discuss. We're here to help. We can be like agony aunts.
Right. Yeah, that would be great.
We haven't got our shit together, but we'll certainly give you our opinion.
We can.
Can't we?
Yeah. I mean, like, we have lots of experience in trauma and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta help somebody.
We're definitely not helping ourselves. No, but I was going to say that we're going to end up with, like, a street team of people being like, we need to get Crystal out of there. We need to save Crystal.
It could happen.
Right? And then they would come in and they would meet Catherine and be like, oh my God, she's the cutest, most lovely.
She is. She's very funny. I find your wife very funny.
Yeah. So, and then there's my sister that's like, you're all a fucking mess. Stop it.
That's helpful. That's helpful.
So, truthfully, like, that has been my experience with emotional comfort most of my life. It was like, I'm having these feelings and could you help me through it? And the people in my life have been like, no.
Well, to be fair, Crystal, growing up, I'm certainly the most emotional out of our family, I would say. Outwardly, anyway.
Yeah.
I would get told to stop crying, just get over it and get on with it. Definitely. Which, to be honest with you, made me worse, made me more emotional.
Did you ever get the if you don't stop crying, I will give something to cry about?
Oh yeah. That's a good one.
Hate that. Never said that to my children.
See, this is why I don't think I would make a very good mum, because I think I would adopt everything that I was told and throw it back at my kids. So no, I'm not going to do that.
I also didn't make them eat everything on their plate, and especially when it was something disgusting.
That's fair.
Right. Like Caroline, one time we were at my brother-in-law's and we were having lamb chops.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff going on, and I just looked at her and went, just eat it. Just eat it. And she took one bite and threw it up in her plate. Ooh. And that was the last time I said, just eat it.
Yeah. I have a real thing about people throwing up.
Do you?
No, I really do. I can't be around sick. I can't be anywhere near. I can't be around mucus. I can't be around anything like that. So basically, if our dogs throw up, I launch Angelique, like, go and sort that out because I can't deal with any of it.
Yeah, when we first got a cat and the cat would throw up, I would just look at the dog and Catherine would be like, stop it. I'm like, but it's so easy. Just have the dog take care of it. And she's like, you've got to stop that. And I'm like, okay, then you clean it up. She's like, I will.
Yeah, things like that make me gag. Not really make me gag. I don't know how we get onto these particular topics.
I don't know. We've really gone rambly today.
It is a true rambly kind of ramble, isn't it?
We did cover some book things, though.
We must have.
Yeah, we talked about some covers.
We did. Yay!
We talked about the Megaverse.
I'm going to talk about now, and I brought it up last chapter, but when this episode goes out, it will be either the 1st or 2nd of March. On the 5th of March, People, Broken Parts Included comes out, so pretty please go out and buy that.
Yep.
I had some ARC reviews come back that almost made me cry, which once again shouldn't be a surprise. The beautiful thing about it was I've had a lot of women come and say that they could identify with what I'd written, because Broken Pots Included is about women's reproductive health and the stress of it and being ignored and feeling crap about yourself and your body. And it seems to have resonated with women. So
that's a big issue. That's a really big issue.
I'm really, really pleased with the arcs that have come through, and I'm really pleased that it's comforted some people in some way.
Good.
So yay.
Yeah, one of my daughters just had a hysterectomy.
She did.
Early 30s. And she didn't want to have children. But there's a tendency for doctors to turn and say, well, you're too young.
Yep.
And this is normal. And you shouldn't be so upset about this. And just take this pill and see what happens.
Yep.
And you're going to be fine.
Yep.
And that's not always the case.
It's certainly not always the case at all. Not at all.
No. And if men had periods and felt the actual pain, that period cramps are the equivalent of having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And men cannot conceptualize that.
Yeah.
And even the thought of kicking them in the junk, they have much less nerve endings than we do. So even that doesn't compare. So it's very frustrating. And when it's a woman doctor that does that to you, it makes it so much worse.
Oh, 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%, because you kind of expect them to have some level of understanding of what you're going through. And I don't know if it comes down to just the lack of something in their career. They're just bored with it and are sick and tired of seeing people and don't really want to give them their time. I don't know. But there is a real issue with women getting the proper help that they need.
I think those women have not had the issues.
They can't have. They can't have.
No.
Because it's not just about the cramping. It's to do with the emotional side of it. It can just be one big cloud of misery for women. And I suffered part of that, which is why I wrote the book. And it's nice that the people that have read it so far have drawn comfort knowing that there is people out there like them that deal with it, because I think it can feel really lonely.
Well, and that just goes in another one of the categories of things that haven't been talked about for women.
Yeah.
Have not been explained.
Yeah.
And there's much less research about it than you would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just seems it's so simple to go to a doctor for the doctor to say, we're just going to stick you on this pill and see what happens.
Right.
And to give you a bit of a rundown, you guys all know that I've had a problem with my lung, and you'll be able to piece together from last month's episode and the month before. It all started around when a gynaecologist put me on a different pill, and I seem to have had a reaction to the estrogen in the pill.
Yeah.
And that's caused all these problems. So not only was I dealing with the horrendous effects of my period and my emotions, but I then now had water on my lung and would have my doctors being worried that I was going to have a pulmonary embolism.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a really stressful time, and that all happened after I'd written the book. So even before that, all that stress was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I, unfortunately, it was a woman gynecologist who absolutely dismissed me and made, for what I can see, is grievous errors.
Right.
And I wrote this book, and I thought I'd got it all out of my system until all this started happening again. And I went back and actually reread what I'd written and sat there and had a bit of cry to myself. And then had lovely women messaging me, telling me that they'd read it and they were really thankful that not only had something like this been written, but it was at the forefront of the story. Because what they said is that they've read books where a woman's period is mentioned,
right,
but it's not the main focus of the book.
Right. And romances typically, especially lesbian romances, disappear the period.
Yeah. They absolutely do. And I think maybe we need to stop that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, a little bit of it came from, I was reading books where women could have sex whenever they want, all the time. They were absolutely going for it like rabbits all the time.
Yeah.
And I suppose a little bit me felt a bit...
Cheated?
cheating, a bit envious because I was going through such a time where that wasn't happening for me. You know,
Right.
I was really struggling, and now, yeah, well, I was kind of like, well, I'm going to write it out as I see it,
Right.
how it is sometimes,
Right.
and that can be where you can't always be banging away like rabbits every 5 minutes.
Nope. And then you get into my situation where Catherine's completely broken. And, you know, part of the whole sex toy thing started so that I had an outlet.
Yeah.
And then she had an outlet because we don't have that outlet together
Yeah.
because of the physical aspects. And it's not just her.
Yeah.
I have my own.
Yeah.
So, two women together, even without
Yeah.
issues
Yeah.
and the ups and downs and the cycles off and
Emotions,
you know, yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
it's
They-
actually that was something that we hit on the other day, was having sex during periods.
yeah.
For me it was a no, but just because the pain,
Right.
the last thing on my mind is having sex, but I'm sure there's women out there who are not bothered at all and don't suffer the way other
Well,
women
and frankly,
suffer.
the night before my period started, I would just be a maniac.
Yeah.
That's how I knew that it was coming. Other than I was synced with my sister and she'd be like, your period's coming. Like, thanks for writing that on the calendar. But yeah. And sometimes I didn't recognize that that's what it was. I would just be super turned on. And then when I started my menopause, I was like on the floor crying because I was so turned on 24 hours a day. And there was no relief from it.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was not.
It was not fun.
No, it went on for like 6 months.
Jeez.
And then the other day, I got some of my medicine straightened out, and that started coming back. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to take this medicine then because I cannot handle that.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun and games, but after a while, it's just like
It's not.
so painful and
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah, it's not. So yeah. Readers, feel free also to. I know that our group is very fun, and we like to laugh and we do silly stuff, but also feel free to talk to us about the more serious stuff as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, don't feel like it's all just fun and games. If you want us to talk about something on the podcast, please feel free to let us know. You can message us directly if you don't want it on the group. We won't say who has written to us. That's fine. It can be anonymous. But I think, I don't know if I can talk for you, Crystal, but I would like us to be able to cover as much as possible that helps women out in whatever way.
Absolutely. So totally pro for women. I don't understand women that are not.
No, I want our voices heard, and the way we can do that is by communicating with each other. And I think we've got a really lovely group in the Rambling Lesbians.
I think so too.
And I think that would be really cool to get those kind of conversations going if you want to do that. So that's my little speech on that. Broken Parts Included coming out in March. Please feel free to read it, and I'll be happy for your feedback. And Ramblers, tell us what you think. Give us ideas of what you want us to talk about. If you've got something you want us to delve into, crack on. We will do it, I think.
No shame.
No shame anywhere.
Nope.
Otherwise, it's just me and Crystal talking about sex toys, really. That's what this is going to just delve into. Oh, what was that? You said you were going to tell me a story earlier. What was that
Well,
about?
I don't know.
Oh, it could be anything from you. You have plenty of stories.
I said that, and then I told you the story, and so it's in Claire's interview.
Oh, okay. So there we go then.
It was me falling off the bed, and my wife saving me.
Like a six-pack. That's what I
the
like.
most inappropriate way possible, and
Have you got any more moose stories you want to say? I thoroughly enjoyed you telling me about that. Everybody thoroughly enjoyed them thinking about young Crystal being Rambo going to attack a moose.
okay, yeah, and people are like, what's that about? I'm like, I was 17. Like, I didn't have a fully functional brain. That totally made sense to me in that moment. I was very angry. So, yeah.
You just seem to have lived such an awesome life that I cannot
just have
come up...
the most random stories.
That's what I was gonna... I was once chased by a herd of cows. There you go. It's
That
not a
seems
moose.
very British.
It's not a moose. I went away for the weekend with a bunch of friends and got inebriated, and we thought it was a really good idea to open the gate to a cow field because we were assholes and just wanted to big dicks about it. It's not even like it's a really cool thing to do.
What did you do on Saturday? We freed the cows.
Well, yeah, we literally opened the gate for whatever reason, left, trundled up the country lane, completely forgot until we all of a sudden heard this noise behind us, and we turned around and there was a light that we presumed was coming from the farmer's fucking Land Rover trying to get his cows back. Backlighting all of these cows. We turned around and it was like, oh shit, and they were running at us, and cows can run really fucking fast.
Yeah.
So we all dived into the side of the road up the little bank, let the cows go past so they didn't hurt us, and then when I jumped back I rolled my ankle and fell over, and then I was just injured for the rest of the weekend. That's about as exciting as my life got.
Yeah.
I tried to steal a chicken once.
Do you have a thing about farm animals?
No. It's just where I lived. That's what was around. And I wasn't somebody who was going to get arrested for like vandalism or anything. I thought a little bit of like poultry theft was
Poultry theft. I grew up on a farm, so my poultry experiences are more like Crystal sit there, and when we cut the head off the chicken, we'll hand it to you, stick it in the hot water, and you'll pull off all the feathers off. And I'm like 7. I'm like, what?
My God, that would scar me.
Oh yeah, we would do 50 chickens at a time every year.
So you just had to sit there while chickens were having their heads hacked off.
Yeah.
Is it true that they still run around
Oh,
afterwards?
yeah.
Oh my God,
After
that's
the
like
first
from
year-
a horror movie.
After the first year, we learned. It started with inexperienced people. We did learn that if you tie their leg, they don't get as far. So
Did you not ever want to race them?
Well, it's not like you're gonna cut 5 off in a row and let them
You
race.
could do 2 at a time and let them go, no?
I think I missed a childhood opportunity in that.
I don't even know why I'm thinking about it because that's horrendous. My brain just went off on a really weird, headless chicken racing. Oh my God.
And 1 year I owned a ram, a sheep,
Yeah.
for 4-H, which is the farmers thing in the United States. 1 year I had a bull calf, but my grandparents prepared me because they named him T-Bone. So the next year,
Oh my God, that's dark.
the next year, when we were having dinner and we were having steak, and I'm like, is this T-Bone? And they're like, yeah. So yeah, I have a very different view of the life and death cycle.
I couldn't even go. I went fishing with my dad once, and he hooked wasn't a massive fish, and he hammered it over the head with a hammer, and I cried for God knows how long because it was horrendous that he was just smacking the shit out of this fish. I was like, you can just put it back.
No, I had the very typical Western small town. I would spend my summers in the small town, and then I would spend the rest of the year in the city.
That means you'd be quite handy in a zombie apocalypse then, wouldn't it?
If I weren't so fucking lazy at this point, yes. But now I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
Sorry.
Could add you to our team.
I mean, like, if forced into a situation, yeah, I can make butter.
Well, yeah, but like you could be there as the person that makes sure that we have food because you could hack the chickens to death and.
Well, not only that is I am proficient with a gun. I also had a spinning wheel as a child, and so I made yarn.
Oh my God, you that.
Yeah.
You just have such an awesome backstory. I love it. You can spin yarn.
Yeah. My mother had a loom, and yeah. My grandfather made the spinning wheels and the loom. And like both of my sets of grandparents, they came through World War II and had that mindset.
Yeah.
And so they were very much able to do whatever they wanted and do anything, and it was amazing to learn all the things that I have. I can milk a cow.
I think I've just come up with a book. I think in this very moment of us having this conversation, I want to write a book that has I want it to be some sort of apocalypse type thing, and I want to write about a group of people trying to survive, and I want you to be one of the characters, most definitely. And it could be such a fun. I'm gonna have you spinning yarn and fucking milking cows.
Can I bitch about how I'm a masked lesbian and this does not fit who I am?
I absolutely
all?
want that to happen, and I'm gonna absolutely emasculate you completely within the book. I'm gonna have to write this down in my notebook because I think that would be so much fun.
Yeah, I don't think it's a real kink that I have about being emasculated, but it happens enough.
Yeah, it does.
I think we're done for today.
Okay, people. So you are now going to be listening to Claire's author interview.
Yep.
Enjoy that. The book recommendations I'm going to give you are Claire's books, because if you want something that is multi-layered, that is, they're emotional, they're just a spectrum of things. When you get into her books, then go for it, please. My favourite is Heal Their Hearts. I absolutely love that book. So we will put links up afterwards on the group. You'll hear that she's got a book coming out as well.
Euphoria.
Euphoria. That will go up in the group with links. So I hope you enjoy the interview.
And I have read Euphoria already, and it's beautiful.
I can't wait to read it after hearing about it. So, yay.
Yeah. And my favorites, I really like the Scarlet Fever series.
Yes.
That's Scarlet Fever, Scarlet, and Diana Moon Goddess. And what I love about Claire's work is it is multidimensional, and you're going to get everything.
You are. So enjoy listening to the interview. We will sign off after that. Hopefully, but the next time that we sit down and record, we'll have some sort of clue what we're talking about.
Or you can just tell us not to.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll just end up with this shit forever.
That's true.
I think I have enough life stories that we might make
it. It really fucking does. We could literally have just every episode on a story from Crystal.
Well, that's how we can get my memoir done.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
Yep.
All right, then, people, enjoy the interview, and we will
talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you soon. Ramble on, people. Bye.
Okay. Well, okay.
Come on, put your teeth in. Put your teeth in.
Highton-Stevenson today, who is a lesbian romance author. And luckily for us, she is not the type that writes strictly to market. And her books tend to be very multi-leveled. So we get a lot of emotional curve on top of some really great spice that we truly appreciate. So, when did you start, Claire? When did you start writing? When did you start your publishing journey?
So it's quite boring. I broke my leg. That was fun. And didn't really have much to do. So was sitting around for quite a while, and I just started jotting down a little idea that I had. And that turned into, well, eventually 3 books worth of Out, Next, and Yes. And I didn't, I was never going to do anything with it. It was just something fun to do while I was incapacitated. But I gave it to a friend to have a read, Michelle Arnold, who's another author. And she was like, yeah, it's not bad. Needs a bit of work, but, if I do the work on it, you've got to publish it. And I was a bit, no, don't think so. And she was like, yep, you've got to do it. And then I just thought, oh, sod it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Nobody will read it. It's fine. I can just tick off, published a book on my bucket list. So, yeah, I did it. And strangely, some people did actually read it. And that was the start of it, really. So just kind of carried on.
That happens when you write a book and people read it.
It does.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was quite a big surprise. I mean, I'm not one of those people that has from a child I wanted to be an author. Like, I was never that. It was just something I just started doing just because I was bored one day. So yeah,
Kind of like that, to be honest with you, that you sort of fell into it.
Yeah.
Those are the best trips to take.
Yeah. I can't climb out of it now, but I'm in it.
Tell us about your journey. I dug myself into a hole.
I fell into the hole and I got no ladder. I'm stuck.
I have a really big thing about brain stuff. And so one of my favorite questions is, do you see the imagery in your brain
As you're writing,
as you're doing anything?
I never realized this was not normal, but no, I don't really. I can see like a blurred kind of image of what I want it to look like. And I see things in kind of like almost like as if it was a TV or a film. And then I need to find images in my own memory banks that match what I want. So if I'm wanting to, I don't know, do an Andrea Dyer in her office in the Houses of Parliament, I have no idea what that actually looks like, and I can't visualize that just off the top of my head. So I just have to kind of then go and research what does an office in the Houses of Parliament look like, and once I've seen it, then I can then imprint it on top of what I want, if that makes sense.
It does make total sense.
Yeah. So it's like if I'm trying to describe a person, I never see their face. I don't know what their face looks like. And I would have to find, I don't know, a film star or a friend or somebody whose face I could visually put on top of that to say that's what they look like. That's roughly what they look like, which is probably why my descriptions in books are not as over the top and overly descriptive as a lot of other authors put in.
Well, I mean, it is not totally necessary because a lot of people, like Allie and I, are both very visual. And so it's fun that it leaves that gap for us to create it ourselves.
I can actually find it more frustrating when something is overly described in a book, because I feel then it takes away from my own imagination.
Right.
Because I can read something and instantly it just be in my mind.
Yeah.
So I actually prefer it less descriptive.
Right.
I've always thought as well, like I listen to people and they, and they'll say to me sometimes, oh, who did you base this character on? Or, and I'm like, well, who do you see? And they will have a completely different person in their head than the 15 other people that you could ask. So I think people definitely, I know when like I say, because I can't really visualize what you would be describing in your book, I have to find something in my head that fits with what I see that character looking at. So if somebody just gives me, dark hair, blue eyes or whatever, then I can go and visually find somebody in my memory banks that works for that. And that's who I will see while I'm reading that book.
No, I don't have brown hair anymore. It's very white. Anyway, so do you have...
You've got salt and pepper hair. It's not white.
Well, it's getting white.
It's salt and pepper.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
Pretty much the same as mine. Mine is about that as well, just a bit longer.
But yours is based with blonde, isn't it?
Only because I bleached it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, mine's
super bright orange, so I just have that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I keep the colour as long as you can.
Well, do you know what? That's actually a really interesting fact about ginger haired people, is that we keep our pigment in our hair a lot longer than other colours, which is why you'll often see a lot of older ginger haired people with still their colour in their hair.
Fun fact.
Okay, moving on.
Right. So do you also hear, do you have an internal voice?
I suppose so. I mean, I don't know. Doesn't everybody? But then, I don't know. I watch a lot of TikToks and people say, no, they don't. And I'm just like, I'm talking to myself constantly in my head. Even if I'm in the car, I'm like, oh, look at that idiot. What do they look like? Oh, what are they doing? Do you know what I mean? There's constantly something going on in my head.
Some of my best conversations are with myself in my head.
Yeah. I go over everything in my head. I have conversations, I should have said this, or I should have said that, or this is what I'm going to do, but I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that and blah, blah, blah. And they'll say this and that. I have complete, conversations in my head.
So you hate it when you're having that conversation in your head and you know how it's going to go and the person just messes it? Like
it's so rude.
The way they're supposed to.
So rude. Like, you're not supposed to respond like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Are you a pantser or a plotter?
Oh, I'm a complete pantser. I couldn't plot. I mean, I'm a Virgo. I'm supposed to be the most organized person on the planet. I have got no skills when it comes to plotting a book out. Nothing. I've tried it. I've sat down and thought, right, what do I want to write? How do I want it to go? And then I just, no, nothing comes. So I just have to sit there, and I don't know, I'll just be driving or something, and a little idea will form, and then I'll spend 3 or 4 days just in my head thinking about it, and then I just start writing.
Once you start writing, do the characters start talking?
I don't know that they start talking to me, or if I'm just dictating to them what they will do. I'm not quite sure. So I just have like I said, I think I get a visual of like almost like a film, if how it would look if it was on TV. That's the only way I can kind of visualize it, because I can think that, I've seen a TV, I've seen films, so I can put that into my head and work it. So, or if like the one I'm writing at the moment is based in women's football, so obviously I go to the women's football, so I can visualize a match being played out in front of me and what the sounds of the crowd sound like and stuff like that. So I'll kind of think of it in that way.
Shout out to your favorite football team.
Who's my favorite football team?
Oui.
So I am a huge Liverpool supporter in the men's, but I'm also a season ticket holder for the Brighton women's. So I've kind of been adopted into them for the women's football, which was really weird for me yesterday.
I couldn't write a sports book because I don't know enough about them. I read the other day Nicole Pyland's new one that was to do with basketball. I was absolutely fucking lost after like the first 2 chapters. She really going into detail what all these things were to basketball, and I was like, I'm just gonna have to skip it to where people are talking normally.
See, this is the hard bit, isn't it? Because I'm the same as you. If I don't understand the sport, I'm not interested in it, and it doesn't matter how much you describe it and explain it to me. I don't care. I don't care about rugby. I don't care really about cricket or basketball, American football, baseball, none of these things. But football, I love. Football, I can watch all day long, and I understand it. I've played it. But I do appreciate there will be people who are going to potentially pick that up who won't like football. And I still want them to read it. So again, just the same with my descriptions of things. It's not massively football based, if that makes sense. It's a romance around a football club. So yes, there are
to read it.
Yeah, there's just little bits, a little half a chapter on a game of football and how the main character has scored a goal or something, so she's really excited when she comes off the pitch, and then we have romance.
If I read a book where I felt like I was reading the UEFA rules to football, I would be like, no.
I know. I have read a couple boxing or MMA books that really get into the graphics of the sport, and I'm not into pummeling people in blood, so the after effect of the sweatiness and hard muscles, that's where I pop back in. So yeah,
if we know where we all stand on that, then
woo. So when I poll people and ask them what they want to know about an author, one of the top questions is always, where do you find your inspiration?
Anywhere and everywhere. I think literally, I used to spend a lot of time in my car, driving back and forth. So that gives my brain a lot of time to just waffle to itself about anything, and that tends to happen quite a lot. Then I'll get a little idea for something, or I can just hear something somebody says, and I'm just like, oh, like you can be in the coffee shop sometimes, you can just overhear a story like somebody's telling someone else. And you can be like, oh, that sounds interesting. But yeah, I just think sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'd like to have a go at that. So like, I really love murder mystery. So for me, if I was going to read a book, it's going to be a murder mystery. I'm going to something well away from romance. And I just thought, oh, I wonder if I could actually write that, because that's a totally different style of writing and stuff. So I just thought I'll give it a go. And the Doll Maker, I literally wrote from first page to the last page without stopping. It was just boom, easy. I found that so easy. But nobody wants to read it. So I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll have to write some more romance then.
that is really frustrating. That is really frustrating that once you get niched, that in order to get into a new niche, you're basically going to have to start over in a lot of ways.
It is difficult. My book, Callie Compton, it's a sub plot of romance, but it's really more action adventure. And I would say that is probably the best book I've written, and yet it is the least one that is picked up because it's not in the main romance.
Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because I don't really consider myself a romance writer. I don't consider myself to be a writer, full stop. I'm more of a storyteller. But I don't have, some, I look at some authors, and they write age gap really well and they stick with that and it sells and brilliantly, they've got the reader followership and it's great. I can't stick with it. I can't stick with that one trope. I have to move. It's whatever comes into my head. If an idea comes into my head and it's an age gap, that's what I'm going to write. If an idea comes to my head, it's a murder, that's what I'm going to write. I can't ignore it. So, I didn't set out to write a football book, but I was at the football and I just thought, what if? And there you go. The story set itself in my head, and now I have to finish writing it. So I can adjust things sometimes. So I can, you can easily make something an age gap if you need it to fit. So, with the football one that I'm doing now, it is an age gap. But is it a true 100% age gap? I don't know. I don't think it's, because it's not written as an age gap. They just happen to have one. But yeah, I just think you've got to try.
I really identify with you on that, Claire. That's exactly how I am. I write whatever comes into my head.
Yeah, I just, I can try to add in stuff that I know the market will like. So with the doll maker, I did put a romance into it because I knew that if I had any chance of getting people to read it, it would have to have a romance in it. And every book nowadays, it has to be spicy. It has to have those scenes in it because that's what most of the people, when you look at the top 10, top 20 in all the lesbian fiction charts and stuff like that, they're all the spicy books. That's what's selling, and I do have to pay my bills. So there is an element of having to write to market, but at the same time, I have to write the story that's in my head.
Yeah, I'm on board with that 100%.
Another really popular question that I'm not going to ask you, that I'm going to go ahead and just answer in general. A lot of people want to know how much of the author is part of the book. And from my perspective, and knowing a lot of authors, there are aspects of an author in there, but they are not the characters. They are not, that is not their life. That is not their sex life. And as fun as that would be, and quite often when somebody writes a sex scene, it comes from a technical aspect to make sure that it's done, and it's done right, and that you're filling all the gaps and closing the loops and do what you need to do. So there are authors that put more of themselves in than others, and there is a lot of write what you know, which comes from your inspiration of wherever you get it. But I just want to make it clear to many of the readers that regardless of how much they put in, that's just not really them.
Yeah, it's not the author's life.
It is not the author's life. It's not their it's not their person. And so there's that. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe when you're right at the beginning of writing things and you're sort of trying to work out characters, maybe you put a little bit more of like, oh, how would I do this, or how would I think about that, or stuff like that. But like you say, there's an element where you're kind of, it's the character and it's not you.
Let's see. Let's go to, what is the best author advice that another author has given you and that you would pass on to new authors?
Oh, wow. Gosh, I mean, I had so much advice when I first arrived. I think just things like not panicking.
Yeah,
it's really hard. But when not uploading that first book. I mean, as an indie doing it to KDP, I had no clue. I'm not very technically savvy. I do get quite overwhelmed with things like that I don't understand. I can be a bit like, ugh. So yeah, try and just stay calm and ask people. They will generally help you out. There's not many authors out there who will just ignore you. Maybe some of the ones who are with publishers, I don't know whether there's some sort of rule where they're not allowed to help out. I don't know, but definitely other indie authors will definitely, kind of almost come to your rescue a little bit, even if it's just to say it's okay. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask other people for some advice and help.
Well, overall,
would be my main thing.
One of the reasons that I love this business so much is that people do willingly help.
Yeah,
they don't turn to a new author and be like, no, you're gonna suck. Well, they say that, but then they say, but we're gonna get you through it. Let's keep going.
Yeah, we all to a certain extent suck when we first start because we haven't got a clue. We're just fumbling around going, oh look, I wrote a book, I wrote a story, I don't really know what to do with it now. And it is difficult if you don't have, it just even the money to afford an editor or a cover designer, and you've got to kind of work your way through that and sort of come up with something that works to a certain extent. The reviewer is always going to find a problem with your book.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter how much money you spend on editing, proofreading, cover design. They will, if they want to find a problem with it, they will find one. And just general human nature is that there will be a mistake in that book. Doesn't matter how many times. I've read the story 50 times before I've sent it to the editor. Right. So I'm word blind with it. I'm absolutely word blind. I've got no clue if there's a mistake in there anymore. And I know there's hundreds of mistakes because I'm not particularly very good with grammar. I didn't get taught that at school. It wasn't on the curriculum as a high priority for my generation. So I really rely on it going to other people to be read and looked at. But they're human beings as well, and they're going to miss things, and there's not a book out there that doesn't have a typo. And
it's near impossible. And
and there will always be someone who will write a review based on that.
Yes. And just the difference between English and American English.
It's huge.
The amount of bullshit that comes back on that is.
I've started thinking I'm gonna put in just a statement at the front of the book saying this is written in UK English. Expect it, because
Well, I actually did that.
Really don't like reading anything that is not US.
Right, which is amazing because most of them don't spell very well. And my generation wasn't big on being taught grammar either.
Yeah,
the generation before me that has more time to sit down and write random nonsense reviews about grammar, they live their lives diagramming sentences. Yeah, I'm the last generation that learned how to type on a typewriter, though.
I could never type on a typewriter. I would spend all my day going back and having to white everything out to rewrite it because I just make so many mistakes.
Yeah, I missed a week on numbers, and it's been 40 years, and I still can't remember where the numbers are.
But that would be my advice, though, is just don't panic about anything, because you've got to grow a bit of a thick skin. You've got to be able to take that kind of. There will be somebody who is mean in their review. Like there's no need for it. There's not a book really out there, I think, that has been through the editing and proofreading process that deserves less than a 3-star, unless it's really bad. Like it would have to be unreadable for me. I think if the story makes sense and you get to the end and you think, oh, that was cute, then it's worth at least 3 stars. people who are just one star in things because, oh, I didn't like the way that this person did something. I mean, you're reviewing on your morals, not on the story.
It's hard to tell somebody though at the beginning of the journey of being an author that you kind of have to expect it and then just let it go and just be like, well, whatever.
Yeah. You cannot please everybody.
Don't go on Goodreads. Avoid Goodreads like plague. It's just awful. It's a cesspit of people trying to outdo each other on meanness. How can I write a review about something and really, put the knife in and get everyone liking it? And I just think it's such a new age social media thing where people are trying to do this, just anything for a like, anything to get some clout and to get some traction with some followers. And I just think, somebody sat there potentially for 2 years writing that story. Some people take forever to write a story. It's not something that comes easy to everybody. And even if you don't like it, even if you didn't get it, even if it didn't make sense to you, just say that. That's all you got to say. It wasn't for me. It's an okay book.
On the other hand, there are people out there that are going to say that book changed my life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's what it's.
But I think but I think when you're a new author, that first horrible review, you'll carry it with you forever. You'll never forget it. You know exactly who it was.
Yeah. Remember my first one. I read it and my wife had to come and console me because I was so upset. I thought, oh my God, I've written an absolutely shit book. It's absolutely terrible. Even though all my other reviews were at least 4 to 5 stars, I had this one in front of me and it absolutely gutted me. And it took me a while to get over that, but I'll always remember that one.
100%.
All right, so you have a new book coming out.
Yay!
Yes.
Pre-order is set for February 21st, and it's called Euphoria. And give us a little rundown on that.
It was one of those ones that was sparked from an old book. So if anyone has read my stuff, Escape and Freedom, you'll know that at the beginning of the book, what sets that book up is a coach crash that the pop band Solar Flare are involved in. And in the character in that particular book, Lucy, is very much injured and scarred, and there's several band members that end up dying. It's a very tragic, horrible event that not ruins, but I suppose, it does ruin Lucy's life a little bit. Her life comes to an end as it was, and she goes off and, she has her life, and that's the story. You can go and read it. But there was one character who was in the band who walked away without a scratch because she put a seatbelt on. And I'd always sort of thought about that and thought how very different it would have been for that one person if you've walked away from something as tragic as that, where people have died and been horrifically injured, and you're walking around without a scratch, but how mentally that would affect you.
Survivor's guilt.
And so, kind of like a survivor's guilt, and the panic that you would still be suffering from, the mental health aspects of that, And so, I thought, right, well, it's been a while since we've been in that world. Let's have a little look. And so, Sasha was the character, and I wanted to sort of just write about where she was now. So it's about her. Her real name is Alexandra. Sasha is like a nickname. And she is now a classical pianist rather than a pop star. And she's very successful, but she suffers from panic attacks, and she doesn't want the world to know about her panic attacks, because the minute anyone comes up with anything to put her in the newspapers with, there's always a photograph of the bus that they were on. There's always a photograph of Solar Flare, and it just brings it all back up. So she tries to avoid being in the headlines if she can. But she does have a small tour coming up where she's going to be touring cathedrals and playing her classical music. And she's having a bit of a breakdown panic attack over the idea of a tour bus being suggested. And she ends up at the hospital and she meets this doctor, and there's a very clear attraction between the two of them. and she's a little bit younger, and so Sasha's very much like, no, we're not going there, that's just silly. But she has a PA called Francine, who is kind of like the brash American stereotype New Yorker, and she's quite comical, and she kind of gets this idea that, look, let's just take a medic with us in case you have another panic attack. And they end up inviting this doctor along. So we've set up the stage now for the romantic part to sort of take over. So it's then about them. So it's Dr. Morgan Kelly, and she comes from an interesting background herself. And it's just how they kind of come together in a bit of a pretend romance situation, to avoid some headlines, and basically lots of spicy things going on.
Can't wait to read that.
It is a great book. It is really a great book. And
I really enjoyed the story of Lucy and what happened. And I think that brings me up to the point of, like, you really like to make people cry.
Yeah, you do.
I do. Because I always think to myself, I just think, like, people are made of emotions, you know, and if you're gonna write about people, you have to cover all the emotions. You know, no romance is all hearts and flowers. There are always aspects of heartbreak, or, you know, not understanding something, or just having a shit day. And so you've got to kind of bring all that into it. And then I think, well, if I'm gonna bring that in, if it doesn't make me cry writing it, then I've not done my job. So yeah, when people say, oh my god, I cried at that, I'm like, yes, done it, achieved it.
It's the same with them. That's what I'll mention, Heal Their Hearts. And I actually we had a quick comment thing on Facebook about that, because I pretty much cried through 90% of that book. But no,
and I just think it's quite cathartic.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, though, is that it wasn't a case of it was just I was reading something sad. It was, you absolutely went through every emotion the characters went through, and you could really resonate with everything they were going through. I mean, I've never lost a family member like that, but good God, my heart was absolutely breaking when I was reading that. So bravo, Claire, that was an absolutely beautiful written book.
And that's why I mentioned at the beginning is that you are multi-layered, and it's enjoyable.
Oh, completely.
Thank you.
I will say that Heal Their Hearts, the cover tripped me up a little bit, because the cover was quite almost a bit of a sexy cover. So I went into it I hadn't really read the blurb, to be honest with you, and I went into the cover did not match what I was reading, and it really took me back for a moment because of how deep the book was, and that just came to my mind.
Okay, let's talk about it, shall we?
Yeah.
Because it is frustrating, and Claire and I have had discussions over covers, and it's, in order to get the spice aspect, you have to stay away from the illustrated covers. And yet, if you have that multi-layered, it bounces different. So I mean, what is your preference for covers?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really have a preference. I have a cover designer. I give her the book type, you know, synopsis, and I see what she comes up with, and then we sit and work out whether or not I like it when it's done. Generally, she doesn't have to change much to what she produces for me, and I think, it's difficult, because so like Scarlet Fever, I knew was gonna be all about hotness and taking clothes off, so it had to have a cover that suggested that. But with Heal Their Hearts, it was kind of like, okay, so this is like, it's a romance, but there is an element of sadness, but there is also an element of spicy sex in there, because she uses sex as her way of being in control of herself and her life. And so it was kind of trying to find that balance of all three of that, all in a book cover, not sort of, so the worst thing I could have done was made it all completely sexy, and then the people that are going to pick that up thinking they were reading erotica are going to go, what the hell, like, and then, but I can't make it too sad, because then the people who like the sexy times are not going to pick it up. So it was really difficult to kind of come up with that in between sort of cover stage. I mean, I don't know, it's just it can be difficult, I think.
I think if I were a cover designer, I would lose my mind trying to keep up with the trends.
I use May Dorney for most of mine, and she's awesome, and I love her to bits. She's a really nice person as well, which helps. And but yeah, she's like, comes back to me sometimes and she's like, oh my God, I've been through every stock picture trying to find someone who looks like this. And I'm like, yeah, just cut their head off. Just cut their head off then, because we're not going to find the person that I've described in the book. So we're going to have to just kind of chop them off a bit. Which is, if you look on Goddess of the Moon, Shannon's head is sort of half disappeared. Like she's sort of just in the background. Because it was so hard trying to find an image of kind of butch women. It's like they're not available in a sexy way, So yeah.
If I were 30 years younger, I would just model. Maybe be a stripper in a butch way.
Pole dancing, keep yourself fit.
I have a thing for pole dancers. And it's not so much the like taking off the clothes, but the strength that goes into riding that pole.
I have the upper strength of a potato, so I'm quite in awe that they can do some of those moves with like pulling themselves up with their arms and that.
Yeah.
I can barely pull myself out of bed in the morning. So.
Yeah, I don't even try. I just roll.
That is some imagery that is gonna make me chuckle for a while.
I've got a story for you later.
Okay.
Anyway. Well, this one time I was falling off the bed. You've known this story where a cat tried to catch me. My wife is like a third my size, and this was in the beginning when we were like wild in bed. And she weighed like 115 pounds, and I weighed about 180. And for some reason, I was going face first off the bed.
Yeah.
And she reached out to try and save me.
Yeah.
And the way she grabbed me is like you would grab a 6-pack using any available hole that she could reach for. And she got both, and that just propelled me farther onto my face quicker. So there's your imagery.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And it's been 17 years. I'm pretty still scarred about it, and I can lose all my memories, and that still comes back.
We can talk it through.
Yeah. All right. As we wrap this up, it has been amazing and lovely. And is there anything else that you would like to say?
Oh no, not one of those questions. I'm really appreciative of people, whether they're reading the book, whether they're doing podcasts and things like you guys and inviting me on, whether they review books. I'm not the best at keeping on track of all of that, like I used to always be like, send my books out to everything, and now I just don't. And I'm just like, so whenever anyone picks up a book, I'm like, oh, someone's reading it, like, yeah, it's working. So yeah, I'm very grateful of everybody whose input is out there, spreading the word about books, spreading the word about my books.
I'm very grateful, Claire, that you write, because I thoroughly enjoy your work.
So, absolutely.
Thank you. Because sometimes I reread it and I'm like, oh my God. Like, you know what I mean? Like
every author out there reads their own work.
Absolutely. And that's why I won't touch it. I was sitting there, what did I do? I had a long drive yesterday, and I put on In Dire Need on my audio just to refresh my memory of it sometimes. And you sort of listen and you think, oh, I wish I hadn't written that. Why didn't I change that word? And I just thought, you know what?
Yes, that's it. That's what it gets down to eventually. Yeah, it's just tough shit. Yeah. The world has to live with it.
As all your fans are out there going, we love this. I can't believe you said it like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think that's why I say, like, I'm a storyteller and I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. I don't write, passages of beautiful prose and use all these amazing fancy words and have a dictionary knowledge, like, I just don't have that. But I know how to tell a story, and I know how to make those characters feel real. And if anyone out there wants to put them onto TV or film, I'm happy to do so, because I think some of them would probably work better. But I just love telling a story and having people be entertained by it.
To do that with some of the books.
There's hundreds of books out there that would make awesome sapphic content for TV and film,
and yet the lesbians fuck it up.
It baffles me that we struggle to find anything on Netflix to do with lesbians, when seriously, just pick a fucking book up, guys, and just turn it into a film. They would have instant success.
Yeah.
That's my gripe.
Oh, we're gonna wind Allison up. All right, it's been a lovely pleasure, and thank you so much, and we will talk to you again soon.